When I first moved to Las Vegas in late 1988, I worked for Channel 33, a TV station that wanted a horror movie host. Danny Koker, also known as The Count, was the king of custom cars and made Counting Cars one of the most popular reality shows on TV. With his larger-than-life personality, crazy car builds, and love of rock and roll, he built an empire that seemed unstoppable. But all of a sudden, the show disappeared, and there were rumors of legal problems and even rumors of retirement. What really happened to Danny Koker after Counting Cars, and where is he now? Buckle up, because we're about to dive into the shocking truth of his life after the cameras stopped rolling. Danny Koker's early years, the untold story of how the Count fell in love with cars and music. Danny Koker's love for cars, music, and the spotlight didn't just happen, it was in his genes. Monday, January 5, 1964, in Cleveland, Ohio. He grew up in Detroit, Michigan. Danny grew up around two things that would shape his future: music and muscle cars. His father, Daniel Koker Sr., was a musician and composer who had a big impact on Danny's love of rock and roll. In addition, his father worked closely with the Ford Motor Company, so Danny was exposed to the heart of American car culture from a young age. Detroit wasn't just called Motor City, it was built around cars, and for a kid like Danny, it was the perfect playground while other kids played with cars. Action figures and toy trucks, but Danny was mesmerized by the real thing. He spent hours around cars, watching mechanics work and soaking up every detail of how engines roared to life. It wasn't long before he developed an instinct for classic automobiles, recognizing makes and models like a second language. Danny grew up with a natural love for being on stage because his family performed gospel music all over the country, and Danny was often on the road with them. On the road, he was exposed to music, old-school showmanship, and the raw energy of live performances. This early exposure to entertainment would later blend seamlessly with his love of cars, making him not only a gearhead but also a natural entertainer. But while music was important to him, it was cars that really captured his attention. Thanks to his father's connections at Ford, Danny had access to some of the most amazing cars of the time, which fueled his passion even more. By the time he was a teenager, he wasn't just admiring cars, he was working on them. While most high school students focused on sports or social activities, Danny was already fixing, restoring, and customizing cars with a level of skill that would take most people years to master. Danny's love for cars wasn't just about speed or style. It was about craftsmanship. He admired how each vehicle told a story and how every detail added to its personality. His first car wasn't a flashy sports car. It was a project that he could work on. That way of thinking stuck with him. He didn't just see cars as status symbols, he saw them as works of art. This was also a time when car culture was exploding. The 1960 S and 1970S were the golden years for American muscle cars, with legendary models like the Ford Mustang, Chevrolet Camaro, and Dodge Charger ruling the streets. Danny spent a lot of his youth in Detroit, which was the center of it all. The city had a pulse and rhythm powered by the sound of revving engines and car fans. Danny wasn't just watching, he was a part of that world, taking in everything, learning from the best, and developing a vision for what cars could become with the right touch. But cars weren't the only thing that caught his attention. Music, thanks to his father's influence, remained a big part of his life. His family had a musical background, so Danny was always surrounded by instruments, musicians, and the raw energy of live performances. He grew up on gospel music. He loved blues, classic rock, and the theater. He also had a natural talent for music, which became just as important to him as cars. Whether he was working on an engine or picking up a guitar, there was always a rhythm to what he did. The way he combined music and mechanics set him apart from other car fans. He wasn't just a guy who liked cars. He was a creative force who saw vehicles the way musicians see songs, as something to be composed, refined, and perfected. Growing up in a home that valued both art and craftsmanship gave Danny a unique view of the world. He wasn't taught to see things as black and white. He saw creativity in everything, from the structure of a song to the design of a car. His early years shaped him into someone who was not only passionate about cars, but also deeply connected to the culture and history behind them. He knew that every car had a soul, and every machine had a story, and that restoring a classic car was like bringing a piece of history back to life. Back to life. By the time Danny was in his late teens, he had already honed the skills that would define his future. He knew a lot about how cars worked, liked to customize them, and had a showman's instinct for making things fun. He didn't just want to fix cars, he wanted to change them, make them better, and give them his own unique touch. His childhood wasn't just about learning, it was about soaking up everything around him, from the energy of a live concert. He was famous long before he was a TV star, a businessman, or even a well-known name in the car world. Danny Koker was just a kid with grease on his hands, a song in his head, and an unquenchable desire to make cars into something truly special. The birth of Count's Customs, how Danny Koker turned his passion into a legacy. By the time he got to the 1980S, Danny Koker's love of cars had grown from a childhood obsession to something much more, bigger. With years of hands-on experience, an eye for detail, and an unstoppable drive, he decided to take his love for custom cars to the next level. That's when he started Count's Customs in Las Vegas, which would set the stage for everything he would become. But unlike the huge custom shop that fans would later see on TV, Count's Customs didn't start out as a fancy high-tech business. It was just Danny, his tools, and his vision working out of his own garage. In the beginning, Count's Customs wasn't a big business. It was just Danny's small personal space where he could work on custom vehicle restorations. He wasn't building cars for money or fame. He did it because he loved it. Every project was a chance to take something old, worn out, or forgotten and turn it into a work of art. Whether it was a classic muscle car, a vintage Harley, or something more unusual, Danny approached every restoration with the same level of care and attention to detail. With his skill and passion, he wasn't just fixing up cars, he was giving them a new life. Las Vegas was the perfect place for Danny to follow his dream. The city wasn't just about casinos and shows, it also had a thriving car culture. From the flashy rides cruising down the strip to the underground world of collectors and enthusiasts. People in Vegas really liked custom cars. Danny quickly became known for his work, and local car lovers came to him to get their rides fixed. What began as a small garage business quickly grew as more and more people brought their cars to Count's Customs, trusting Danny's skills to make their dream cars come true. But it wasn't just about the work Danny did. His personality and passion made him stand out. He wasn't just a mechanic working behind the scenes. He was a showman who could talk about cars with the same energy and excitement he had when he was working on them. As a child, his excitement drew in customers, collectors, and other car fans who admired his dedication to the craft. Even in those early days, he made every project feel like an event and treated each car as if it were a work of art. As the years went by, Count's Customs grew beyond the walls of Danny's garage. What started as a one-man show started to turn into something much bigger. The demand for his custom restorations skyrocketed, and it became clear that he was building more than just cars. He wasn't just building cars, Count's Customs was becoming a name that people in the car world knew. Danny had turned his childhood love of cars into a real business, setting the stage for everything that would come next. Danny Koker as Count Cool Rider. The unexpected TV career that shocked fans. As Count's Customs continued to grow throughout the 1980s, Danny Koker's larger-than-life personality and love of entertainment started leading him in an unexpected direction. By the 1990s, he wasn't just famous for his work with cars, he was also a familiar face on Las Vegas TV. This may come as a surprise to people who only know him for his work with Automotive Empire, but Danny took on a completely different role as the host of Saturday Fright at the Movies on KFB, a local Las Vegas TV station. He wasn't just any host, he became a character called Count Cool Rider, a leather-clad vampire who loved all things scary for the show. Danny, this wasn't just any job, it was the perfect mix of his interests. He grew up with music, entertainment, and showmanship, so being in front of the camera felt natural. At the same time, his love for custom motorcycles and old horror movies made the character of Count Cool Rider an extension of his real personality. He wore all black, sunglasses, a bandana, and a gothic biker outfit to play the part. His job was to introduce Saturday Fright at the Movies wasn't just about playing a role, it was about creating an experience. Danny brought an energy to the show that set it apart from other late-night horror hosts. While many horror movie hosts focused on the creepy and eerie side of the genre, Cool Rider added humor, personality, and a rock star attitude to the mix. He didn't just let the movies do the talking. Whether he was making jokes about how ridiculous movie special effects were or getting people excited about the action, Danny was a fan favorite in the Las Vegas area. At the time, local TV horror hosts were a dying breed, a holdover from an earlier era of TV, but Danny's take on the role gave it new life. His rockabilly meets goth style made him one of the most unique people on local TV, and Saturday Fright at the Movies became a cult favorite. Even though this part of his life was more about TV and entertainment than cars, the show changed his future in ways that no one could have imagined. It showed that he had the charisma to be on camera, the creativity to entertain an audience, and the ability to turn his passions into something that people could relate to. Long before he became a reality TV star, Danny Koker was already an expert at combining his interests with other things that people liked. Danny Koker's time on Cool Rider in the 1990s showed that he was naturally good at entertainment, but it was his knowledge of classic cars and motorcycles that would eventually put him on the national stage. By 2010, Danny was no longer just a local TV personality, he was about to become a household name. That year, he made his first appearance on the History Channel's hit show, Porn. Danny became the go-to expert on all things vintage and custom when it came to cars, motorcycles, and anything with an engine. This one chance would change the course of his career in ways he never imagined. Porn stars already had a huge fan base, with millions of people watching to see the Harrison family buy, sell, and negotiate deals on rare and historic items. But when it came to judging classic cars, the show needed someone with real knowledge and experience, which is where Danny came in. Danny was the perfect person to give expert opinions on whether a car was a real gem or a polished-up disaster. From the moment he walked on the scene, Danny stood out. He wasn't just any ordinary car expert. He had a rock star persona, complete with his signature bandana, dark sunglasses, and biker-style wardrobe. But it wasn't just about the way he looked. His deep knowledge of classic cars and motorcycles made him an invaluable asset to the show. Whether it was Danny could quickly figure out a car's history, value, and potential, whether it was a rare Harley-Davidson, a 1960S muscle car, or a one-of-a-kind custom build. His love for cars was clear, and his excitement made him one of the most entertaining experts to watch. Fans quickly took notice whenever a classic car or motorcycle rolled into the porn star's shop. They knew Danny Koker would probably make an appearance. His segments became some of the most memorable parts of the show because he brought an energy that mixed knowledge. While some experts just recited facts, Danny made car reviews fun. His reactions were real, and he wasn't afraid to get excited about a truly unique find. As porn stars became more popular, so did Danny's fame. He went from being a well-known name in the Las Vegas car scene to a national figure in the world of automotive restoration. More and more people were interested in Count's customs and wanted to know more about the man behind the... What kind of projects did he work on outside of the show? What started as guest appearances on other shows quickly turned into bigger roles. Danny Koker wasn't just an expert. He was becoming a star in his own right, setting the stage for the next part of his career, his own show. How Danny Koker took his passion to prime time. Danny Koker's growing popularity on porn stars had already made him a familiar face to car fans and reality TV fans. But in 2012, he took things to a whole new level after years of being Danny was the go-to expert for classic cars and motorcycles. And on August 13th, 2012, he finally got his own show on the History Channel. Counting Cars gave fans an inside look at the world of Count's Customs and the amazing custom vehicle projects that Danny and his team were working on. This wasn't just another spin-off. It was the next step in Danny's career, turning his passion into a full-scale TV phenomenon. Unlike porn stars, Danny only made occasional guest appearances. There was no haggling over the value of collectibles on Counting Cars. Instead, the show was all about restoring and customizing classic cars and motorcycles, which had been Danny's true passion since childhood. Each episode showed the daily operations at Count's Customs and included everything from high-stakes car deals to jaw-dropping transformations that turned old, forgotten vehicles into works of art. Whether it was a rusty muscle car, a rare vintage find, or a high-performance Counting Cars, stood out because it was real. It wasn't a scripted drama or a stage competition. It was a real shop with real projects and real passion. Danny wasn't just a TV personality. He was a hands-on business owner who lived and breathed cars. Fans got to see the highs and lows of running a custom shop, from the thrill of landing a dream car to the challenges of meeting tight deadlines and dealing with problems that came up out of the blue. Danny's close-knit crew, which included talented builders, painters, and mechanics, each brought their own skills and personalities to the show from the very first episode. Counting Cars caught the attention of car lovers everywhere. Danny's extensive knowledge and contagious enthusiasm made the show a hit, and the amazing vehicle transformations kept people coming back for more. Viewers weren't just seeing cars get fixed up, they were also seeing forgotten stories come to life. Whether it was a sleek hot rod, a classic Cadillac, or a one-of-a-kind chopper, each project had its own journey, and Danny made sure that each one told a story. The success of Counting Cars made Danny Koker more than just an expert on cars. He was now a full-fledged TV star. But his love for cars never changed. The show wasn't just for fun. It was a reflection of everything he had worked for, from the early days in his garage to the thriving business he had built. Danny Koker built a custom shop, and with Counting Cars, he shared his passion for cars with the world. The lawsuit that rocked Count's Customs was the 1967 Mustang scandal. Counting Cars quickly became a hit, putting Danny Koker and his shop, Count's Customs, in the national spotlight. The builds were getting bigger and bolder, and fans watched every week to see Danny and his team turn old cars into beautiful works of art. But as the shop's fame grew, so did the problems. There were challenges that came with running a well-known business, and in 2014, Count's Customs was in the middle of a lawsuit that put the shop's reputation under the microscope. The lawsuit was about a 1967 Ford Mustang, a classic muscle car that was supposed to get a full restoration at Count's Customs. A couple brought the car to the shop with high hopes, thinking that Danny and his crew would make it into something truly special. The couple said they had been promised that they were told that their Mustang would be restored by a certain date and even expected it to be featured on Counting Cars. This wasn't going to be a normal build. It was supposed to be a showpiece that would show off the craftsmanship and attention to detail that Count's Customs was known for. But as time went on, things didn't go as planned. According to the lawsuit, the shop didn't finish the restoration by the promised date, and the Mustang never made it onto Counting Cars. The owners were angry and upset. The couple was misled and asked for a refund for work they paid for but never received. Their request was denied, leaving them with no choice but to go to court. The lawsuit accused Count's Customs of breach of contract, saying that the shop had not kept its end of the deal. When the lawsuit became public, it caused a stir in the car community and among fans of Counting Cars. Count's Customs had built a reputation for high-quality work, creativity, and a genuine passion for restoring, and many of Danny's fans saw him not only as a businessman but also as someone who loved cars and took pride in every project his team worked on. The idea that a customer had been left hanging with neither their car fixed nor their money refunded shocked many. Some started to wonder if this was an isolated incident or if other customers had had similar problems. For Danny Koker, this was a serious situation because his whole brand was built on passion, craftsmanship, and trust. Over the years, he had changed many cars. Making Count's Customs one of the most famous shops in the country, Counting Cars had taken the shop from a small garage operation to a powerhouse in the custom car industry. This lawsuit wasn't just about money, it was also about protecting the business's reputation. While the lawsuit went on, Count's Customs kept working on new builds and projects both on and off the show. The lawsuit didn't stop Counting Cars from moving forward, and fans kept watching, eager to see the newest restorations and custom creations. The show kept showing off impressive builds, celebrity collaborations, and the unique style that made it famous in the first place. But behind the scenes, the lawsuit was a reminder of how hard it is to run a high-profile custom shop in the world of custom vehicles, where delays and disagreements are common. Restorations can take longer than planned, budgets can change, and customers and builders cannot understand each other. But when a shop is in the national spotlight, even one lawsuit can become a big deal. This was a test not only of their business, but also of their ability to deal with controversy and keep going. Some fans defended Count's Customs by saying that delays are normal in the auto industry, especially when restorations are complicated. Others, on the other hand, thought that if the couple had been lied to, they had every right to demand accountability, no matter which side they were on. One thing was for sure: the lawsuit had added an unexpected chapter to the Counting Cars story. Despite the legal problems, Counting Cars remained one of the most popular car reality shows on TV, and Danny Koker's love for cars never wavered. While the lawsuit was a challenge, it didn't change what made Count's Customs famous. Danny had built his business on years of hard work and dedication, and one lawsuit, no matter how public, wasn't going to change that. Count's Customs was always going to be in the spotlight, which meant they had to keep making amazing builds while dealing with the ups and downs of running a world-famous custom shop. Danny Koker's rock and roll love story, the truth about Corey Coker's death rumors, Danny Koker's life wasn't just about cars, music also played a big part. In 2015, he married Koker, a TV personality and musician who shared his love of rock and roll. Danny and Corey were married, but they also worked together in their businesses. Corey was an important part of running Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill, a place that combined their love of live music, good food, and a rock and roll vibe. While Danny was busy counting cars and running Count's Customs, Corey made sure that Vamp stayed a popular place for rock music in Las Vegas by hosting live shows and supporting both local and touring bands. Even though fame and business put a lot of pressure on their relationship, it stayed strong and didn't have any of the scandals or controversies that usually surround public figures. However, in 2022, false rumors started spreading online that Corey had died in a car accident. Fans were worried, but the rumors were completely false. Corey was still alive and well and continuing to manage Vamped and support Danny in their shared ventures. This was just another example of how misinformation can spread quickly, especially about public figures. Over the years, Danny and Corey have shown that they can work well together, balancing their love for cars, music, and business. Despite rumors and problems, there has never been any solid evidence that their marriage is having problems. Their shared interests have kept them close, making them not only business partners but also true soulmates in both life and work. Danny Koker's scandal and strength in the face of betrayal and keeping his legacy alive. Danny Koker's journey has been full of ups and downs, from his huge success in the custom car world to personal and business problems. In 2017, a former employee was accused of stealing $75,000 from the company. For a business built on passion, trust, and hard work, this betrayal was a huge blow. Danny and his team had spent years making Count's Customs one of the most respected custom shops in the business, which made this situation even worse. The accused employee was shockingly charged with theft, which was a hard time in the shop's history. The exact details of how the money was stolen weren't made public, but the case served as a reminder that success comes with risks, and not just from competition or outside pressures. Sometimes the risks come from within. Despite setbacks like this, Danny Koker has never lost sight of what really drives him, his love for custom vehicles, music, and business. He is still very involved in Count's Customs and makes sure that even though counting cars has made Danny famous around the world, he doesn't just rely on it. He has always put an emphasis on the craftsmanship and creativity that made his shop successful before the cameras came. His team continues to work on one-of-a-kind restorations and custom builds, taking on everything from classic muscle cars to motorcycles and high-end hot rods. Despite the ups and downs of Count's Customs, it remains a powerhouse in the Danny's vision, and hard work have endured, as shown by the success of Custom Car World. But Danny's love for rock and roll is just as strong as his love for engines, and he stays involved in the music scene. His rock band Count's 77 continues to perform, bringing back the sound of classic rock with Danny as the lead singer. He also stays involved in Count's Vamped Rock Bar and Grill, the live music venue he and his wife Corey have turned into one of Las Vegas's best spots for rock fans from. The venue has become an important part of the rock scene, similar to how Count's Customs is in the car world. Whether he's on stage or in the garage, Danny has always made sure that his love for music and cars is front and center. Through all of life's challenges, Danny Koker has stayed true to himself. His love for what he does has never wavered, and he continues to live his life on his own terms, surrounded by roaring engines, guitars, and the thrill of the open road, while enjoying a successful career. Danny's toughness has helped make sure that his impact in both the custom car and music industries is as strong as ever. Despite the challenges he faces, he continues to do what he does best: build, create, and keep the spirit of rock and roll alive on the road and on the stage.